Kevin from Hideaway Homestead. We're going to be talking today about cooking in a Dutch oven. One of the things you have to do first is to get the charcoal lit. So we're going to show you how to do that process of getting the charcoal started up to put on the top of the Dutch oven and underneath. So let's get started with lighting this chimney that we have here, it's called, to get the coals lit. So the first thing you want to do before you get one of these lit is you have to have some kind of paper that goes underneath this thing. It's made in such a way that you can stick stuff in the bottom and it stays in there. So you pack some paper in there, set this down, and then you put your charcoal in. However much you need, get it in there. We take one of these lighters, and there's holes in the bottom of this thing. You can just stick this lighter right in there and light that paper. And hopefully it lights pretty easily, and it looks like it did actually. It'll start smoking like crazy, like it's doing now. That's normal. That's what it's supposed to do. So you want to kind of keep an eye on it just to make sure the fire doesn't go out before it gets to where it needs to be. And believe it or not, that little bit of paper is usually enough to get these charcoals burning, and it gets quite hot. Okay, so this seems to be still lit pretty well. One of the things that we have to be cautious about, especially here in Florida, because it's so hot and dry, is fire. And so we have to be very careful that we don't set the woods on fire, so to speak. So what we've done is we've got a couple of buckets of water close by in case that something around this that shouldn't be lit happens to catch fire. We can put it out. So that's just one of the things that we do. Sometimes we will also drag a water hose over here and keep that nearby just in case we need to put something out in a hurry. And it looks like it is still burning. Now sometimes if you don't have paper available, you can use pretty much anything. We have plenty of leaves around here, pine needles or straw or hay or whatever you've got. You can put in the bottom of this to make this burn. And it looks like we may have to put something else in the bottom of this because what we put in there seems to have already burned up and this is not lit. So I'm going to have to find something else. It is still burning in there a little bit, but I can't tell how big the fire is. Still smoking, so I know it's still burning, but I'm probably going to end up having to put some leaves or something under this to get this lit again.
On the menu for tonight is a Dutch oven recipe where we are cooking pork chops or pork steak in this case in our Dutch oven along with potatoes, and I decided to throw in some carrots too, so I've got a one dish deal going on in one cast iron Dutch oven. The Dutch ovens are made out of various items. The ones for cooking over a fire or over charcoal are usually black iron, cast iron style. I do have a Dutch oven officially at the house that is enamel coated, but I wouldn't want to put that over charcoal unless I had to. They are made sometimes with little feet on the bottom that holds them up off the ground, and your coals can go under the Dutch oven and the air can then move under that. They are also made with a type of lid that has a lip around it, and this lid then holds the rest of the hot coals and disperses the heat down into the pot. I guess officially it isn't an oven, but you can bake in it. You can make things like biscuits or cornbread, anything that you could bake in a regular oven, you could bake in a Dutch oven. It also acts as sort of a slow cooker, so that if you put something in there and put it on low heat, it'll gently cook your food, especially for tough meats or something like that. You can sort of set it and forget it, and come back after a couple of hours and your food will be ready to go. These are quite heavy. This is a particular one that we haven't used before, brand new to us, and it has the 12 on here. That gives the diameter of the pot and lid. This lid is made to set very tightly on there, so there isn't a lot of air escaping out of your Dutch oven. Since we have not used this before and I haven't seasoned it myself, it came pre-seasoned, it said, from the factory, I went ahead this time and put aluminum foil in it. That does slow the heat transfer a little bit, but it'll make it easier for me to clean and keep any flavors from this meal bleeding into the next meal when we might make a peach cobbler or something that tastes surprisingly like pork chops, carrots, and potatoes. So I'm going to set this aside for now while I prepare the rest of the food for this dinner. For our meal tonight, we're going to put potatoes, sliced potatoes in here. It's interesting to me that Kevin and I have different favorite potato peelers. Of course, you can peel them just with a knife and take the edge off like that. Goes a little bit slower to me, and maybe my Dutch blood doesn't like to waste that much potato when we do it this way. It's really harder to me to do it with a carrot because it seems like I miss too much. Now this is Kevin's favorite peeler, but I don't like it. It's not my favorite. My favorite is this one, and I can go to town with this one and get all those peels off of here. And I just chose a whole bunch of potatoes to cook for tonight because I figure if we're going to go to the time and trouble to make this meal, I want a whole bunch of leftovers. So we'll have another meal or two maybe this next week. So we've got a pretty good bit of meat here also. So I'm going to go ahead, peel the rest of my potatoes, get them sliced and in the pot. Then I'll take care of my carrots next. And then we'll put in onions, and we're going to have a good meal going on here. We've peeled, we've sliced, now we're ready to put everything in the pot. The recipe that I am using says to layer the sliced onions first, and then a layer of potatoes. Remember, I'm the one who creatively added the thought of putting carrots in, so I'm going to add them on the side just so that they aren't touching the other food. So I'll add them after I put my potatoes in. One thing that I'm going to do, I've got some seasoning salt here, and I'm generously seasoning this each stage of the way. They do that on the cooking shows on TV, so I have to copy them. These are not vegetables that we have grown ourselves, unfortunately, and it is not our pork, but maybe soon, maybe next year, we'll be showing you the same recipe with all homegrown stuff. Carrots didn't seem to, they seem to be a smaller portion than I thought. Okay, then we're going to layer the pork on top of all of this. The interesting thing that seems sort of backwards in my mind for the Dutch oven cooking is that the heat actually comes down from on top. And it was explained to me in an article that I read recently that it's an article or a point of physics, I suppose, that heat rises. So you put fewer coals on the bottom because that is already going to rise to the top. And then you put more coals on the top because that is going to have to force its way to cook downward. So when we set this up outside, that's what we will do. Doesn't seem like a very generous portion of cream of mushroom soup, but it'll all cook in and steam together once this gets hot. Maybe one more dash of seasoning, and we're ready to go outside and get this put on the coals. By the way, this is very heavy, especially once you get all the food in it. This handle is excellent for carrying it out when it's cold, but once it gets hot, this transfers heat too, so you need to make sure that you don't just grab this handle when it's already hot, because it is hot in itself. It hasn't been that long, and these coals are red hot and white hot in this charcoal chimney, so I'm going to start separating them out. There are charts that tell you how many coals you're supposed to use to achieve different temperatures based on the diameter of your oven. So we are using a 12-inch diameter oven today, and it says to put 10 coals on the bottom, and you put them in a circle, and then you have 16 on the top to achieve 350 degrees for a 10-inch oven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, get back over here, 10. Put them in there. They suggest that you get either a welder's glove or some type of very heavy-duty pot holder kind of a glove. How'd I do? Pretty good on the circle there? Okay, then the rest of this is supposed to be 16 on top. It seemed like we had way too many coals cooking, but now I'm wondering if we're going to have 16 left. Should have counted probably. Are you counting along with me? They suggest that as this is cooking, once in a while, you go ahead and turn the whole oven like a quarter of a turn clockwise every half hour or something like that. Am I at 16?
12. There's 12.
12? That means I need 4 more. Right? Did I do it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll go ahead and heat up some more coals just in case these cool. It's quite windy today. The wind and the outside temperature can all affect how well these coals do, how long it takes to cook your food. So if this is supposed to cook for 2 hours, I don't think these coals in this wind are going to last that long. Not worried about the temperature. It's 90 today, so that's not going to be our problem. We're going to add some more coals for maybe next hour just to refresh the temperature around and under this. See you when they're done. To finish off our Dutch oven meal, I decided I was going to make some biscuits like Mama used to make. They're not really homemade biscuits, but I like this recipe. It's special. So what we're going to do, I've got a little bit of butter in here, and rather than heat up the house or cook something, we've got our extra coals, and I'm just going to melt this butter on the coals, and then I'll take it into the house and finish off getting it ready. I'm going to set all of this, the biscuits, we call them womp biscuits because you womp them on the countertop. The refrigerated biscuits, I suppose, would be a better term. But anyway, we'll take those in and add those with some brown sugar and make a nice little special roll to go with our dinner. My mom would make these biscuits rolls whenever we had guests, especially like Sunday noon after church, when didn't have a lot of time to make a fancy muffin or a special roll, but yet you could just pull this out of the fridge and have a nice special roll to serve to people. What she would do is melt some butter in the bottom of a pan. Usually she would use a round baking pan, like a 9-inch size, and but in this case it was going to be more difficult for me to use a 9-inch, so I'm just doing this way. I'm sort of smearing this around, and then I'm going to put our Wump biscuits, our refrigerated rolls, on top of this. If it works best if you are with these 10 biscuit packets, if you're doing a 9-inch pan, then it takes pretty much 2 of these to sort of get them up close to each other. But in this case, since it's just the 2 of us and I only brought 1 pan or 1 roll of refrigerated biscuits, then we're going to do it this way. One of the things that my mom often did, almost always did, was to put some pecans on there and center them so that each biscuit would have a pecan on it, and that makes it even fancier. These will sort of crystallize and make or caramelize, make a caramel thing, and then when they're done, we flip them and put them on a plate, so all of that gooey goodness is on the top. So we're going to go add these to our Dutch oven out there. Hopefully this pan will fit in on top of all the other pork chops and potatoes. And on the final minutes of cooking our supper, we're going to add these on top. See you when it's done. Okay, we're going to lift the lid off to add these rolls to our big cast iron Dutch oven. You need to be very careful when you remove the lid to make sure that you don't spill any of these ashes into your food. If you do have to set it down, Kevin was able to do it miraculously while recording, but if you need to set it down, you can buy a lid setting little wire arrangement. But they also suggest you can just turn over a muffin pan, set it down on there so that you don't get dirt or ashes or something onto the lid, because there's steam accumulated there. You get that on your lid, and then you're going to drop that into your food. So we've got just a few more minutes. This will be done. We're going to have a good supper. One more thing that you need to remember about using a Dutch oven, a cast iron Dutch oven, is that you don't want fast temperature changes, so you wouldn't want to take this hot Dutch oven, put it in a sink of water or something like that. It can crack. These things have crossed the plains all the way from Missouri when they started the wagon trains all the way to Oregon or California. So they are durable, but you have to take care of them and treat them well. We'll talk some other time about seasoning them. It's the same process as Kevin's video about seasoning cast iron skillets. You do need to take care of it so that it will last you for a lifetime and be something you can pass on equipment-wise to your heirs later on. We're going to go eat some good supper.
Here's our finished product on our rolls. They sure do look good. We like these a lot. We can eat a lot of these things. So let's get eating. We hope you've enjoyed this video. We hope you're able to use some of the ideas that we had in the video today. We've used several of the ideas ourselves in the past, and we've had friends that have used them also. These Dutch ovens are very versatile for cooking different things. You can cook desserts and whole meals and that sort of thing with them, and so they're quite versatile. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, hit the subscribe button in the lower right hand corner. Give us ideas, ask questions, leave us comments, give us a thumbs up for sure. And if you have friends and family that might be interested in our channel, pass along our information to them. Hopefully they would like to see some of these as well. We'd also like to reference one of our past videos that we did on how to season cast iron. So go back and look at that and get some tips from that too. So until next time, thanks for joining us here on Hideaway Homestead.